things is really quite fast. I've not really finished the patch yet. I'm pretty sure you haven't either, but it's not stopped Blizzard because they've revealed patch 11.1.5. They've also thrown it on the PTR, and credit where it's due. It's not what we expected, and I mean that in a good way. Today, you're going to learn everything there is to know, and if all you've done is skim the patch notes, well, turns out there's actually more in the PTR. Now, there's a thing I've been doing in my personal free time that you don't know. I've actually been building like little apps and tools, and that's why today's sponsor is really relevant. They're Boot Dev. And with
Boot Dev. Now, this is something that Neo should get into. Neo, have you ever tried boot.dev?
I love Boot. Is actually how it works specifically. It's the vibes.
I don't think he has. I don't think
so. I haven't tried it.
Yeah, well, this is something that gives you back-end web developing. I mean, it could help us when we're trying to grow the channel. The older I get, the more I want to learn. I want to keep using my brain. So, like I was trying to tell Neo earlier, you know, trying to learn how to edit videos, how to be able to do my own content. These guys have been at it for a while. Like some of them, ever since they were in diapers, basically.
And of course, you're learning real practical skills here, not just programming basics. That will mean you doing portfolio projects.
Now, back in the day, in my day, in 1984, that's when Apple came out, and that's when everybody wanted to start learning how to do computers. And that is when we were in DOS, and we were learning how to basically learn commands. And I made my very own game, which was like a book. So it was kind of cool.
So how does double reputation, a flat 20% XP buff, and a chance, that's something we've not had in a while, XP potions for killing mobs? Kind of wild. Patch 11.1.5 is definitely the catch-up patch because of a new thing called Winds of Mysterious Fortune. Once this patch hits, everyone will have double rep in the War Within, triple rep in Dragonflight. It's kind of insane. Yeah, I guess this is happening. And massive boosts to basically everything else. I think Blizzard are trying to frame this as the, hey, it's time to come back. Take everything. I think that's kind of the framing. Now, in one way, that does look really, really desperate. In another,
not in my opinion. Everybody has said that leveling is kind of like something that is no longer needed when it comes to this, because we're at what, level 80? You know, we used to be at level 120. Then they brought us down to 60. They made us go back up to 70 and now 80. I think it's one of those things that if you want to try and engage your community, your customers, and they know this is an MMO that is a treadmill, because there's always something that you have to do. Without a doubt, you need to make sure that you're always replacing gear, always looking for the next bis, things like that. Then you're going to definitely want to try and not waste a lot of time. And time is money, friend. And that is the one thing you can't get back. So I think this is marvelous.
Way, it makes me think, do they have something rather large to announce? Is there supposed to be some big news that will hit around this so that there is hype? But the thing is, there's actually a lot of content in this patch, so let's talk about that. Our next feature is completely out of left field. It's called Dastardly Duos, and basically it seems to be doing an arcade version of what WoW's really good at, in boss fights. So it's called duos. Now, this doesn't mean it's like duo bosses like the dinosaur and monkey fight from Undermine. It's just you fighting two bosses at once, potentially even more. And the goal is not just to clear this, it's actually to get a high score. And the best news is it's not some sort of like super sweaty hardcore content either. It's going to have a whole bunch of power-ups and items that you can earn over time via achievements. So basically, it's got its own form of progression, kind of like a game within a game, I guess. And it being scored does, I think, mean that they don't have to mess around with difficulties or stuff. They can just make it simple and easy for people who don't care about the score. But then if you want to chase down score, you can obviously, well, do whatever you'll need to do to get lots of score.
Vinny Sweat's showrunner announcer is promoting Dastardly Duos, where players can step up to take on the animatronic versions of past bosses, gain power-ups, and strive for higher and higher scores for bragging rights. So they're basically giving us the leaderboard. You know, things like that. You and your party will fight 2 or more bosses at a time and to rack up the highest score. That's pretty cool.
Maybe that's going really fast. Maybe it's adding in even more bosses at once. It essentially seems like old school kind of arcade-like game design. I'm kind of down for that. And if the idea of it being raid bosses seems kind of wacky, I agree with you. Reading their post, they don't say you and your raid, they say your party. So I've got to imagine that this is going to be dungeon bosses. I think in terms of complexity, that will work a good bit better. What this is going to be then is a 6-week event that will show up sometime during the patch. It will have a whole bunch of rewards, which basically seem to be the usual, loads of cosmetics, toys, but also some cool old items, because these bosses are basically animatronic versions of existing ones from across the game. So basically, it's old school content cycled kind of back in, like they did with, say, BRD in the 20th anniversary raid, but in a more unique way. So it's not Brawlers Guild, which I was kind of holding out hope for, but I'm okay with that because this seems really cool and like actually different. I mean, when you think about it, even just on dungeons, WoW has got so many cool, memorable bosses from the past. Actually, like, making a boss rush mode out of that seems really cool and way more interesting than the bizarre boss rush thing that I think they did for the 15th anniversary. Okay, whenever this hits PTR, we will play it, but don't worry, the PTR is already up. This bit has just not came yet, but a lot of other things have, like the weak aura replacement, and this sure is something. So it turns out that the cooldown manager is hitting the game way sooner than we thought.
Nice. So enable cooldown manager. One of the things that I've been also trying to get is I've been asking for a weak aura. Now, as a tank, I'm trying to learn and put my UI. Now, I don't know how clean you like to have your UI, but for me, I want to be able to see some of my buffs and see when they're running out. As a tank, a pally tank at that, you have 3 to 4 different defensives that you can use. But one of the things they always try to teach you is don't overlap them so that when in need, you will have one available. If not, then you fucked up, especially if you're a pally tank. A Vengeance Demon Hunter, for instance, Demon Spikes now is nearly always available. So I would like to see that buff, like put it into a window so I can drag, drop, watch when I need to make sure I hit my next one.
I thought this was going to be a 12.0 thing, but no, it's actually on the public test realm right now. So the question then is, does WoW's weak aura replacement actually replace weak auras? And the answer is sort of yes, but there's a massive asterisk. So here's what it looks like. You'll see that it tracks all of your major abilities in the essentials panel,
see?
Even
Exactly.
your defensives.
That's kind of what I want. That is right there kind of what I want. I want to be able to see how many charges I have, and when they're on cooldown, if they give you a little countdown bar to when the next one will be available, that is what you want. If you're tanking, maybe even if you're... Neo's probably got his headset off, but it's one of the things you want to track. You want to be able to know when you have your abilities back.
And heals for the right rolls, which is all pretty neat. Underneath that then you'll see all of your utility abilities, so that's your defensives, your crowd control. Then there's a buff tracker which shows important buffs as icons, and a bar tracker that shows your most important.
Yeah, because you know they give you your buff tracker and it's at the very top of your screen.
And it's mixed with all kinds of other useless shit. It's too cluttered with shit you don't look at.
Exactly, because those are buffs that like your party will give you, that you'll get to know if you have Fort, Mark of the Wild, you know, Intellect. All those are up there, but things that you really want to pay attention to, they pop up there at the top right, all the way up by your mini map. And then how do you know if they're done? You need to have, you need to have that closer to your character, I think.
And they keep moving around as buffs keep coming in or removing themselves, and then the buff you're trying to look at can jump around.
Exactly.
So you never know where it is.
Exactly, because that's what it does. So the minute that it's gone, it's not on the list, or maybe it pops up again because you hit that one button, and so it goes to the top. It's just very confusing. Let me be able to choose what I want to track.
Combat buffs. It's kind of cool to have all of this, and these have got all the usual edit mode layout options, so you can basically put these wherever you want, whatever size, whatever layout. I think that's basically fantastic.
Nice.
And this could easily replace weak auras for people who are happy to accept decent defaults, which is basically what this will be. And I suppose if you prefer something that matches the game's aesthetics, right? But if you want complete tracking and things like, you know, a holy bar or like an energy bar replacement in the middle of your screen, well, this would be a massive downgrade over the very custom solutions that people can make with weak ores. And if you want really good ones, Luxos's ones are fantastic. So basically the way to think about this is like when Blizzard did the changes to action bars that technically replaced functionality from Bartender or Elf UI for some people, but with the humongous downside, at least for some, that you don't have the crazy amount of like customization options that those add-ons provide. As an example,
Yeah, one of the things that I find really odd is why hasn't Blizzard been able to put a team together to create their own Elf UI? Because they've hired more people, they've acquired more studios. Is it all about the content, or can you get a team of 10, which is a lot, and try and make them UI specialists? And try and I don't want to say cut them out, but make everything available in game so that you're not worried about that. The weak auras, you know, try and put your own DBM, your own details in the game. They're there. They're already available. You don't have to go search for them on Awego.io and say, which one do I need, or CurseForge. Now, these people have always, how would you say, they've always tried to support Blizzard. And the reason they exist is because they're giving the customers, the players, what we feel we need. Now, granted, there's a bunch of weak auras, and that's a large resource hog on your computer. But if they include it in the game, in the code, you might not have to update all that stuff. Like Baginator right now, I just downloaded Baginator. Why can't Blizzard give you that in game already? Why do I need a weak aura for that? It's a simple, what do they call that? Life of change, improvement of change to the game, you know?
Right now, you cannot allow or block any specific abilities, and there are some gaping issues. Could just be a PTR thing, but as an example, it does not track Ret Paladin's wing duration when you're using Radiant Glory, and it
See what I mean? And that's what I need. I need to know my cooldowns.
does not show Crusade stacks. I imagine that kind of thing will be fixed up. There's still odd stuff like it tracks Crusading strikes for no good reason. And for another quirk, I think Havoc Demon Hunter
They brought up both classes I was talking about. That's funny.
probably doesn't need their taunt to be in the utility section. So there are loads and loads of small issues, but I've got to imagine that's what the PTR is really here to help fix. So it's entirely up to Blizzard to make sure that this works as a fantastic out-of-the-box default for players and that they don't feel like they need to go and get weak auras. Look, the upside here could be absolutely ginormous. How many people in World of Warcraft simply don't know what like things their class can do? They're, I don't know, hidden away.
And that's a thing too. That is a thing, a great point he just brought up. How many of you don't know what your class can do? What it is you want to try and track to make you a better player? There's a content creator that I watch who runs down when people are in keys. And he does mostly like a lever, like when people just leave the key for no reason and they just like, they're so toxic in the key. But I'm telling you, this is something here that if you have it in game and people are willing, and this is a stretch, willing to look and read the tooltips. Take your time to read the tooltips. Now, granted, there is a long list of what you could look at for the things that have synergy with other items. And there's a video about that out there. Maybe I'll react to that one. But there's a lot that you don't see. They haven't told you about.
In a spellbook, they just forget to use ability. Well, you know what? If there is by default a thing there that is showing you glaringly all of your utility that you are not pressing, that you could have saved your life with, well, maybe that will help people be a little more informed and maybe a bit more, well, better. Okay, next up, we're going to be doing some Arathi LARPing. Okay, technically I lied, it's not live action roleplay, but what it is a new event. So, do you want to be called a Stalwart, an Ardent, or an Arrow Knight, or maybe a Sacred Templar? These are all things that you will be able to get in this patch. everyone assumed the Nightfall, which is the name of this patch, was going to be some sort of Hallowfall related thing, and we were right. It's more Arathi, it's full-blown Arathi, and that's pretty good. They're a cool bunch. So we're going to be joining a new unit called Flames Radiance to defend Hallowfall from the Sureki Nerubians in a last-ditch effort now that they've basically lost their queen. So yeah, they're basically just going a bit crazy. Now, there's almost certainly more to it. I'm sure there will be lore implications, but that's what we've seen so far. Hallowfall and Ashkahet will be getting a whole bunch of new content, basically around whatever kicked off this sort of new wave in the Arathi and Hallowfall sort of war. Now, this is up in the PTR. It's basically more like what we've come to expect. So it's a world event in a way like Theater Troop or Surge Pricing, but, well, thankfully it's more about murdering spiders and doing Arathi things. That's basically all that's up for now, and I'd say overall, it is perfectly fine world content. It's maybe not as interesting as we would have hoped. That being said, there are other things that are pretty damn cool in this patch to make up for that, like Horrific Visions, which I'll get to soon.
Yeah, they're like certain things, you know, being key pushers like we are, I'm not somebody that's always into a lot of the world events. In Undermine, I have been. I've been doing my world quest. I've been trying to push up my renown with the cartel, getting through the story. Like, I just got done beating normal raid for the Undermine, Liberation of the Undermine. So I'm going through that story. I'm still not done. And things like that are good. But one of the things that you always want to have in a game, and I think Neo can agree with me as well, is the replayability. How many times do you want to have the replayability? You have to want that to be in the game so that you want to keep logging in. And then granted, this is a live service game. So that means a subscription is paid every month. So we want content.
And what is actually cool is they're doing a full-fledged Renown with this. But the Renown's actually got a few more neat things. Number one, right? New armor, new weapons, new dirigible colors, and you get a tabard. Now, the tabard will match your rank with the Renown. So basically, it'll get like cooler and cooler as you go through the Renown. Your rank then directly buffs you in the zone as well. So if you definitely want to be like the light, strongest soldier, have some sort of ego trip mowing down legions of spiders, basically, that's what you'll be able to do in this. So overall, I'm going to say it's not looking stunning in terms of like, oh man, crazy content, crazy game design. No, it is a slice of World of Warcraft content. That being said, WoW is an RPG. It's nailing the theme. They've got some really, really cool rewards. And if I even think about, say, the Lamplighter stuff, well, you know what? Actually, theme goes a long way. And even though the Lamplighter stuff is kind of just a bunch of bonus objectives, it feels better because the theme is banging. So they've actually nailed that here. Now, what's on PTR does look to be early, so I've got to imagine that it will progress and maybe things will be looking a little bit better as the weeks go on. Now it's time for Horrific Visions. These are so exciting to me, but the worst fear that a lot of us had is Blizzard would just
hey, how you doing, Wubsy's wife?
Back to the on position
how you doing, Courtney?
And leave it at that and basically do nothing. No, they've not done that. They've actually put in the work. Thank God, it actually looks pretty damn cool. So the Horrific Visions are coming back as they are, but with a bunch of new additions. The good news here for casual and solo players is you get NPC companions, if you want that is, who can tank, DPS, or heal for you. So if that's like a stressful side, well, sort of take that away.
Champion I can offer you further assistance should it be desired. I could form a construct that can aid you. It's kind of like having a brand. This is kind of like having a brand, and anyone that uses brand should know he falls over like a little bitch. I mean, healing, I don't even want to think about him tanking. Healing, he's always dead. He's always dead. Like, we did Delves yesterday. How many times did he die, Neo? Like, all the time? I mean...
every time. Yeah.
It's horrible. It's horrible. So, one of the things that I like to try and consider is that... Horrific Visions were tough at the beginning. Now, there's also a change, and I'm sure he'll get to it. Before, there used to be 5 masks. Now, I believe it goes up to 8, which is insane. You're a little tired? Me too. I slept in today.
But of course, if you want challenge, there is even better news. Blizzard have added more difficulty levels, they have brought back all 5 of the challenge masks, and they've added 3 more challenge masks. Plus, on the higher difficulties, you can earn up to heroic gear. I am very happy to hear this. Now, even if you're doing them on the easier modes, they will offer item level 626 gear, at least according to the in-game tooltip right now. And for completing the achievements, you'll even be able to earn the right to buy 658 heroic weapons. Pretty sick. So basically, this is catch-up, but it's catch-up that's returning via solo and party content that's actually...
Which will be great for a lot of the mold people out there that want to do solo content, the casuals that don't want to worry about going to raid or doing Mythic Plus or going to Mythic Raid or going to Heroic Raid. You know, they're out there, they're gathering and they're going through the story. They're completionists that are going through all this story. And then they log off and they go to work, you know, because people don't just do this. They don't just stream. This is my sacrifice. This is my choice. So I myself don't get to enjoy all the little tidbits like I am in Undermine. I'm doing this now, but when it came to Horrific Visions, the grind used to be horrible. You had to get 3 vessels, which means you had to do encounters in both Oldham and then the Vale. So you would do that, you'd get your vessels, you could only get 3, you fuck up on 1, guess what? That's on you. You had to level up your cloak. The only way you could level up your cloak was by doing the visions. It was tough. I mastered it at the end, no doubt. You know I did. But in the beginning, I did burn some of that currency to be able to do more.
A really well-designed game mode. This thing was so cool.
I'm hoping they've changed
that. So cool back in the past in Battle for Azeroth. But it did have a lot of usability problems, like the way that you would enter it. You had to farm up a resource. That junk is all gone. You can go and do it. And certainly the culmination of all this stuff is that when you open up the event tab in PTR...
You know what he hasn't mentioned? Do we still need to have our cloak? Because one of the things I don't see, I do see it. I take that back. I take that back. So this is your insanity bar down here. So the minute this is getting close to the end, you need to get out or you're just going to die. There were ways to build this up. You had to find special chest, and maybe we'll be able to cover that in a video.
Holy shit, there really is, there's a lot of stuff to do. But okay, back to the visions. They're not super connected to the story. It's very specifically us revisiting these visions with the help of the Bronze Dragon Sora Dormi. Apparently, N'Zoth used the Black Blood quite a bit as well, and we're basically just investigating them just to be sure. I've got to imagine there will be lots of very juicy lore tidbits, though. I mean, the last time that we time traveled to Old Gods in, Dragonflight, we inadvertently told N'Zoth what timeline was going to happen, at least up until, a certain point, which does have lore implications on what N'Zoth knew, even at the time of Battle for Azeroth. So, I don't know. They really could try to cook up something there. Anyway, let's talk rewards. So we'll collect a bunch of displaced versions of corrupted mementos. We can...
Look at that. Look at all that. That is fucking sweet. Look at that bike, bro. I got the green one and the red one.
Spend those on new and old things. I would expect it to follow a recent trend where we just see new versions of mounts and transmogs from the original version of this mode, plus toys that we basically wish we bothered to pick up back then. Now, also, if you miss the corruptions that made patch 8.3 an absolute riot, I forget the one that was really good, was it called Echoing Void or something? I call it on my first drop in the raid. I felt pretty good about it. Anyway, those corruptions are actually making it back in the form of weapon enchants. Oh,
there you go.
Yeah, we'll have a lot of testing to do.
I love the corruptions. If they come back,
we'll be back soon once that testing is done. This does
no way. They are not coming. There's no way. People love them, people hate them, but I tell you what, I never had a better time with them. As a tank, with rank 7, rank 8 was too much for me, but rank 7, because I did have the 8, but rank 7 of using Twilight Devastation as a tank, dude, I was leading the charts by a country mile. They were millions. Oh my God, the numbers just went up. Loved it.
A massive PTR build to just get our teeth into. Quite a lot of content, so we'll report things when the time's right. That being said,
that's
overall,
awesome.
This patch is looking more substantial than I thought. It's also looking more interesting than I thought. The whole duos thing is genuinely new. I haven't really seen that before, so I'm keen to see what they cook up.
Yeah,
But okay,
that'd be
that's
neat.
it for today's news episode. That being said, good lord, a lot's going on. So if you want to check out the latest for 11.1, watch this video next.
There you have it, everybody. I will put that in Discord, and wow, that is a lot to take in. So enjoy it. Enjoy it. Let's go. All right. Thank you to everybody. Come back again.